Welcome back to Record-ology. I'm coming to you from a record shop, as you can see, record shop. However, this is one that I'll never buy a record from, not because I don't want to, but because it's not real. This is actually set decoration here at Universal Studios, Orlando, Florida. Back over here by the Harry Potter entrance, actually. In fact, behind me in that direction, the King Cross Station. I've been here before, did a couple of intros and things in the past, but we are in the UK, as it were. Thought it'd be a cool place to do. By the way, we're here at Halloween Horror Nights. It's quite an experience. And I thought it'd be a fun place to intro, but here to review a record player. A record player that I know you're gonna love. It's a suitcase player. It's not a Crosley, but you're not gonna wanna miss this. Is the Tanlanin TE-001 vinyl time vintage turntable, vinyl time retro turntable featuring Bluetooth 4.2. It's a bit of an older codec, two 5-watt speakers, 10-meter Bluetooth range. This will be a Bluetooth receiving only. It does not transmit, I don't believe. There are those that do, but this one does not. This is approximately $65 on Amazon as of the publication of this video, which is a bit on the higher side for a suitcase player. It does have good reviews. I was looking through the reviews and people seem to think that this is a good suitcase player as far as suitcase players go. 3 color options, white, green floral, and pink floral. I have the pink floral version, and this does seem to have some cool features, so I'm excited to check it out. And those features are listed on the side. Vintage briefcase design. It is 3 speeds, of course. Enjoy listening to your records with high quality stereo speakers. Time will tell. Time will tell. USB input and recording capability. Let's get into it. Okay, let's go ahead and open this up. Here is our accessory packet featuring a power lead to USB. That's interesting. Usually these are powered straight off of a wall wart, but this one actually has a USB lead, so that's unique. And it looks like a replacement stylus, and the unit is packed in styrofoam corner blocks. Oh, full clamshell. And that's it for the box. The unboxing piece of these is kind of simple because it's a single piece device. So what are you guys doing today? Anything fun going on? What is the record player that you guys are looking to pick up next? Or maybe your first record player. Maybe this would be a good one. Maybe this would be a good first record player. Or, these make good, if they're good, they make good secondary units. Like if somebody they have a good record player maybe as their main system, but they want a secondary system. These little suitcase players are, everything you need to go from nothing to everything is in one container. All right, before we open it up, let's take a look here. So form factor is pretty typical. This is pretty standard size one. We do have the vinyl wrap there. You can see it is kind of leatherette texture. I do like the pattern on this floral pattern. From a hardware perspective, we've got metal corner pieces. Let's look at the handle. The handle is a rigid, solid molded piece of plastic with a sort of fake trim piece there. And, feels good in the hand. And down here, these pieces, obviously like a shiny metal. The buckle, the latch, the reflective metal. On the bottom, we have kind of soft plastic feet. Not rubber, but a soft rubberized plastic. Nothing on the sides. My suitcase player, my Christmas suitcase player actually has a control panel on the side, which is interesting. On the back panel, we have RCA outputs, which say line output, QC pass. We've got the power socket. It'll be a 5-volt unit and the sticker right there as well. I do not see an FCC ID number, which is odd. All right, the hinge looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and pop it open. Maybe the FCC ID is in the pamphlet. Okay, interesting. There's no branding back here, but this looks like almost like a blemish, but it's not really. This is like a fuzzy kind of felt lining back here, but there's a coloration difference there. It's not really a blemish, and there is a smudge over there. You know, dirty hands on something like that will discolor it quickly. I'm surprised they didn't end up putting their name on the lid, because on the concept photos they do. So that's a bit of a surprise. Not that there's a lot of brand recognition there, but you'd think that would be a good way to advertise, right? A very large foam piece here. And we've got the Welcome to Playing Records insert. Useful for the beginner, and that's exactly what this device is targeted at. Okay, we do have a slip mat. Completely unnecessary on a player like this. Oops, what was that? Is it just what is this? A piece of paper? Oh, it's like a hole punch. It's probably a hole punch from the middle there. I'm not sure. Yeah, it's a felt, kind of one of those rigid felt ones, and unnecessary on a unit like this, especially because this one still has the rubber nubs. Sometimes companies will remove the rubber nubs if they're putting one of these in there. It's fine. It doesn't do any damage. It's actually probably better in a sense, but it's just, you know, let me just say I wouldn't spend money to get a felt mat for a record player like this unless it already came with it. If it already came with it, I would leave it on. I mean, why not? It's a little bit more protection there. Please note the gap between the Please note the gap between turntable is from spring-mounted mechanism. Oh, I get it. So it's saying that this is a good thing, the shock mount, and it's actually good that they put that there, because a lot of people are worried when they get this. They're like, mine's not screwed in tight. No, that's a good thing to keep the. It's a sound dampening thing. It's a minimal. It's not going to make a huge difference if you have one with a rigid mounted mechanism. You're not going to have a hugely different experience on these little 5-watt speakers. They're not going to rumble that much anyway. Okay, I'll take that off. Okay, let's take a closer look in this region here. Just occurred to me that the hole punch is obviously from the paper, not the slip mat there. So, mystery solved. So, let's go ahead and give this a little shake. Yeah, it's pretty tight as far as those go. There's not a whole lot of excess movement. We got a plastic 45 adapter, a cheap one. I would recommend updating this if you wanted to kind of amp up your 45 experience.
Have you ordered your official Record-ology 45 adapter yet? Check out the link in the video description below.
So the tone arm is standard metal one. There is a clip for the rest right there. Plastic head shell with finger lift. We'll look at the cartridge in a minute. And we do have a cueing lever. It is 3 speeds, and there's an auto stop on and off, which will allow it to stop at the end of the record. So kind of this, it's not a full manual player because it does have auto stop, which you can turn on and off if you want it. Interesting, down here, unadvertised features. I don't remember reading anything in the feature set about an SD card, but it has an SD card slot, a USB slot, and I'm assuming that this, protective film. It's amazing how many people go through life never taking the protective film off of things. I have to have it off. I can't live my life with protective film in place. And our on and off volume knob, plastic. Kind of wonky, isn't it? Yeah, like wobbles. It feels like good drag though. Headphone jack, and that's about it. It's a pretty basic unit, but all the features you would expect. Let's start by taking a look at the cartridge and stylus. Okay, we're going to start by unclipping that and gently removing the stylus guard, which a lot of people surprisingly don't realize that's supposed to come off and wonder why there's no sound. This is going to be a Chuo Denshi clone ceramic cartridge. That doesn't mean that the needle is ceramic. That means that the technology in the cartridge itself is a ceramic rod, similar to a quartz watch type of mechanism, sort of in reverse. But this transducer is not a bad one. It just requires a little bit more downforce. So that's why people say, oh, this damages your records. It'll carve up your records. but in actuality, they track a little heavier than others, which we'll look at here in a minute. See exactly what this one's tracking at. But that's by design, because these ceramics are less compliant, meaning that the needle and the cantilever and the entire movement of this transducer will not follow the grooves quite as faithfully as a higher end one. It's a little stiffer in a manner of speaking, and it requires a little bit more weight on that needle than other types. The real question about, is this going to cause any damage is really more down to that little red tip at the bottom right here. That's the needle. You'll notice it's reddish because it is a sapphire tip. You can upgrade these to diamond for cheap. It's easy and cheap. But this is actually not a bad example of this type of cartridge. Sometimes they will mismount or misalign the actual needle tip itself, and that can result in some damage. But if it's put on there properly, then there's no reason why this shouldn't sound as good as these can. And the speakers, the amplification, that will obviously play into it as well. I forgot to mention this little pouch is indeed the power supply. So that's kind of weird. I don't know if I've ever come across one of these that instead of giving a regular 5-volt wall wart, gives you the USB brick and the cable. So with it being 5 volts, this can actually run off of like a portable battery supply or even a laptop, which is something to keep in mind. It can make it more portable, I guess. And I am really glad they included an extra stylus. Like I said before, these are cheap to replace and upgrade to the diamond ones, but it's good to have an extra sapphire because the sapphires are good for about 100 plays, where the diamond are good for about 1,000, just to give you an idea. So how does it sound? That's an important thing. We're going to be listening to it with the front-facing ambient microphones just in the room here. And before I do anything, I need to dust this off. This is Vinyl Moon number 94, in case you're wondering. Let's go ahead and spin it up. This thing needs to be dusted. Interesting chime. Okay, I see the LED display over there. It says Pho, so that must be phono. All right. So, assuming phono is, where we want it to be, the record is spinning, so it starts based on the position of the needle. Let's go ahead and drop our stylus and listen to the built-in speakers, and then later in the video, stay tuned because we will be doing a direct feed sound test. After we look into all this stuff up here, we'll do a direct feed sound test, and you guys can hear for yourself exactly how good or not this record player sounds. So, first impression time, how does it sound? Good descend on the tone arm, by the way, that's good. Here we go. It's pretty thin sounding, pretty thin, first impression. And we do need to check the speed accuracy. We'll do that with a strobe here in a minute. Interesting. Yeah, it's not the warmest sounding suitcase ever. There's almost no low end. It's very sort of shrill sounding. Let's go ahead and listen to a little bit more here. Yeah, that sounds pretty rough actually. That could be due to things other than impedance matching. My guess is it's impedance mismatched. However, when we do the direct feed test, we'll be able to give it a listen straight from the cartridge. First impressions, we're not so sure about sound quality there. It's a bit rough. Let's go ahead and check the speed accuracy to see if it's spinning at the right 3 speeds. Okay, this is a strobe warning to those that are sensitive to flashing lights and patterns, etc., etc. We're going to start with 33. That'll be right here. And let's see, the line should be static if it is accurate. It's marching a little to the left, so it's a little fast, but not bad at all. Not bad at all. Let's go to 45 right here. Almost perfect. A hair slow, but almost perfect. And 78. A bit of motor noise there. You always get the motor noise on the 78. 78 is is a bit slow. You can see those lines marching to the right. So for most people, 33 and 45 spinning accurately, 78 not so much. So there may be a trim pot inside. Of course, you'd have to open it up in order to do that, and that would void your warranty. By the way, this is a belt-driven turntable. There's a little clip right there at the base of the spindle, and the motor is about right here in a rubber belt going under there. So people worry about the belts. They're like, well, how often do I have to change the belt? Probably never in the lifespan of this thing, but if you do, it's so cheap. It's the hardest thing about doing it is getting that clip back on there. So you can do it with a flathead screwdriver. My little scale on here and see where we're at weight-wise. And see what we get. And so we pegged it out. It's a 5-gram weight. So what we're going to do is add a weight to the scale and zero it out with the 5-gram weight. So now we have to add 5 to whatever it gives us, and you'll see that my scale isn't perfectly accurate because that should go straight to -5, not -4, 0.22, but we'll get the basic idea. Okay. Okay, so let's call it 1.10. So this is essentially 6.1 grams-ish, which is a hair high. That is a bit excessive on tracking force. And as such, this probably wouldn't be the record player I'd put my prized vinyl on. A lot of people forget that records were initially designed to track in the neighborhood of 9 grams, worst case scenario sometimes. Now, not all records would withstand that much tracking force very well, but some do. And they're not as fragile as some people think. That's my opinion, but that's what I believe. That's my experience. That's the opinion of a lot of other people as well. Let's go ahead and check out this control panel over here. Comes up with high. And to the naked eye, that's actually a bright, solid red. It reminds me of like 70s era calculators. On camera, it looks orange and it's flickering, but it's really not. To the naked eye, it doesn't look like that at all. Something else to consider. Remember I had said it is Bluetooth receiving, like it receives Bluetooth. You can hook up your phone to this and this acts like a Bluetooth speaker. And these other inputs like the USB, the TF card slot, and the AUX-in would take precedence. So if you plug something into there and you're already on Bluetooth, this would override that. And both the USB and TF slot act the same way. You can play back media from there, I believe, WAV files and MP3. And this is interesting. If you record to USB, it actually records as a WAV by default. Usually these are 128 MP3 recorders, but this one actually is a WAV recorder. So that's interesting. So we'll do a test recording probably on a USB and give you a direct feed of that, and we'll see what resolution we get. In terms of switching inputs, there isn't an input switch, and the reason for that is it's just what you plug in. So if you hit the memory button, you can turn on the Bluetooth. LOD. What do you think that means? Bluetooth and LOD. It's really interesting. This manual does not have a whole lot of detail in it. It's got the core basics. I don't see a description of what that means. It's probably something obvious that you guys will be able to pick up right away. So yeah, that's basically it. You can hook up an external device to AUX. You can play MP3s and WAV files via the USB and TF card slots. By the way, TF is the same thing as SD. And you can record to these as well from the AUX-in or from vinyl. Let's go ahead and connect it to vinyl. It does have a headphone jack for private listening purposes. And remember those line outputs on the back. We'll use the line outputs. No, actually scratch that. We're going to use the headphone jack for the direct feed. A quick aside, the reason why I'm going to use the headphone amplifier instead of the line output is a limitation of these Zoom digital recorders. This thing is fantastic. It does so much. But the line input on this is not truly a line input. It's a mic level input. Probably why there's a microphone by it. So if I hook up just straight to this device from a line output, it's way too loud because it's coming in too hot. So I have to use a headphone amplifier to actually step it down. little behind the scenes for you there. So I will opt for this, and that'll allow me to use the volume control to adjust it down a little bit so it's not oversaturated. So let's go ahead and do the record test next. I'm going to do the TF card because that's the first thing I came across. So in order to record, you just press the M button for 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. It should beep or not. And then there's a timer there showing how long of a recording we are getting. Okay, and then press and hold again to stop the recording. Let's give it a listen, see what quality this recorded at. Okay, time for the direct feed sound test. I picked a track on here that sounds pretty cool. We're going to listen to it through the headphone amplifier into the Zoom digital recorder, and it will be recorded at a high resolution wave. But YouTube will obviously do its compression thing. So by the time you hear it, it will be a lossy, compressed file. However, that should not stop us from being able to judge the sound quality of the output. I'm excited to hear it. I've been listening to some more music on this between takes, and it's starting to grow on me a bit. It's starting to grow on me. Some songs definitely sound better than others. It's not as rough as I first thought.
And your heart beats slowly, and your heart beats slowly. And you're on this party. A magic day passed my way.
Okay, final thoughts. The more I listen to it, the more that the sound is growing on me. I might have been a little harsh. Maybe I was the harsh one. Maybe its speakers weren't harsh. Maybe I was harsh. I mean, these sound like suitcase players. They're never going to compete with super high fidelity stuff or even moderate level equipment. They are entry level, but that's what we do. That's what we do. And this particular one has a lot of functionality. It had good speed accuracy. The physical build quality seemed to be on par. I didn't see any major fit and finish issues. It had a good cartridge. For what these are, this seemed to be a good one. The only issue I really had with it was that sound quality. But as I listened to more music with warm tonality, I'm really starting to hear some more of those mid and a hair of low range, which is good. So my opinion on the sound quality is improving. Like I said, we're keeping this around, so we'll definitely hear lots more of it in the future on the channel. And, on the subject of suitcases, I will be doing a side-by-side comparison, not only of fit and finish, design, but also sound quality. We could do some direct feed side-by-side tests. That's a show for another day. Well, my friends, that is going to do it for today. Cannot wait to hear your comments and read your comments. So definitely, I'm sure you're already doing it, but go ahead and tap away below. Let me know what you think. And if you would be interested in this particular one, price is a little high for a suitcase. This is on the high end of the range. These go from anywhere from 35 to 75. This one's 65-ish. So, it is on the higher end, but it's not obscenely priced. For a beginner, for an ancillary turntable, this might really fit the bill. But anyway, there it is, you guys. All right, my friends, and that is going to do it. Still here at Halloween Horror Nights, and some great set decoration here. Here's the Transformers ride. A lot of haunted, house things you can do. And it's been a blast. It's been a lot of fun. Hopefully you enjoyed this show. Give me a thumbs up if you did. Thank you mostly just for being there. Love to know your comments down below as well. But that's going to do it for tonight. So happy record editing. We'll see you next time.